Hi. Today I'd like to talk about action or taking action. Now this is going to take into account the things I've been talking about the last 3 videos: truth, emotion, and faith, and just the relationship between those and taking action. Now I think that probably the greatest action we can partake in is prayer, and praying really for those things that we're talking about, praying for God's truth, praying to uncover our emotions, and praying to have faith. I think in our world, in the way we are, the greatest, we think about the time spent on things we do in our lives, and if we don't spend any time at all thinking about spiritual matters or God, then of course we won't come closer to that. If we don't spend time with thinking about or having emotions about God's truth, then of course we're not going to come any closer to it. So the amount of time we spend on these things I feel are important, very important. It's not that we give up thinking about our other things or our material concerns on the earth. We don't give up thinking about those things. It's just that when we just think about those things, then I just don't think we're advancing very far in a spiritual nature. I kind of came about uncovering my emotions I didn't come to it through prayer. I came to it through reducing my addictions. And I just had spent some time listening to a man who I quite respect, and he did talk about God and spiritual nature some, but one thing he really struck me and I realized was so important was looking at our addictions and what I am addicted to. And it's those addictions that bury our feelings, that the reason we have the addiction is so we don't have to feel certain things. I think that's really the main reason, or the reason why we develop addictions. We don't want to feel the things that we don't want to feel. I don't want to feel that I'm inadequate. I don't want to feel that my life is worthless. I don't want to feel these things that in the makeup of who I've come to be, I just don't, and those feelings are there, I just don't want to feel those things. So what do? Well, I take on addictions, and the addictions limit the amount of those feelings. That's why I have addictions. So the process of praying and seeking for God's love, let's say, is the process of uncovering those addictions so that I can uncover those feelings that I haven't wanted to feel. And the other big thing about uncovering God's love, seeking for God's love, is it can really look at, we begin to look at our belief systems and what we believe. What we believe carry us in places not necessarily to the truth or to God's truth. It might be having to do with systems developed for man's truth and what man thinks might be true, but many things that our society believes or men believe are not true under God's laws. So if we are believing something that is untrue, and we steadfastly believe that, and we push for that, and we fight for that, it's not helping mankind. It isn't. It's just helping for us to be confused and for us to believe things that are not true. And that doesn't even, it has a huge effect in our earthly life, but it's those believing things that are not true are going to have one hell of a effect when our body dies and we are in the spirit world. Those things will keep us from seeing the truth in the spirit world. Burying our emotions will keep us from seeing the truth and our emotion in the spirit world. There is always help there. There's always, we can ask for God's help there as well as we can here. It's just that we might be in for a huge shock when we die and we wake up in the spirit world and it is not what we thought it was going to be. So what is I'm talking about taking action, and it's what I'm saying is to take action, to look into the spiritual nature of things, to look into God, look into our belief structure, look into what we feel and we don't want to feel. The thing with praying is we can pray for something to happen, something, we see an error or we see something we want to fix that, but we may not be aware of what is actually causing that problem. Like, say we're asking for something, but our uncovered emotions are what's causing that. It's our belief structure that is what's causing that. So if we pray to God to fix that, what is going to happen is we are going to be pointed at our belief system. We are going to be pointed at our harmed emotions. And that's what we're going to be pointed at. We're not going to just get a fix, because that doesn't affect the cause. All praying will affect the cause of things, not the effect, not the result of things. It'll be looking at the cause. And it's so that's why we can start praying, but unless we are willing to process our feelings, unless we are willing to look at our addictions, unless we are willing to come to the idea that maybe my belief structure is not correct, unless we are willing to look at those things, prayer is not going to work. It's not going to change anything. We have to become willing. We have to become willing to look at what God and spirits, benevolent spirits, are showing us is true. So that's the action that I feel is necessary, and the greatest action we can take is the opening up of ourselves to God and seeing what's there when we do that. Now, I'm not saying that I did look at many of my addictions, and I know that I have, through my process and starting to feel my feelings coming up, those addictions have not come back. But I go to some addictions still, and so I'm not saying that those are all gone. They're not. They're just not. And it's not all of a sudden they're gone sort of thing. It's a process. And I can say to myself, the more I hang on to those addictions, the less I will grow. I will be limiting my growth. So thank you for listening.